Boom. Welcome to the fun, Dan Marino. I'm going to let
Well,
you
thank you
present.
for inviting me, by the way.
Anytime, you're the best.
I am the best, by the way. Well, welcome everybody. Hope everybody's surviving the cooler weather that started to happen to us in Connecticut and Massachusetts and where else. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about optimizing time management within the supply chain, strategies for efficiency and success, right? So everybody talks about being really busy and wearing multiple hats all the time. So we're going to talk a little bit about what time management can do to help that. I tell you, can't tell you the number of companies that I'm consulting with right now that are continuously looking for positions like planners and schedulers and master schedulers and demand managers. And some of the reasons they're looking for that, in my opinion, some of the reasons they're looking for that is the fact that the existing team in place just may not be managing their time appropriately, or management may not giving them the right signals to manage their time appropriately. And so we're going to talk about that because it's getting more and more difficult to hire professionals in those areas that can help immediately. So, and business is good in most of the companies I'm with, so they continuously need that help. So let's get going on this. So, kind of welcome again, everybody. Tonight we're talking about time management in the supply chain. There are only two areas so there are a couple of areas that are affected by time management. The only two areas where being 5 minutes late can somehow create a 5 week backlog, and how losing a single sticky note can shut down a production line. So if we're not managing our time appropriately, I've seen these things happen where just being late, not being around, not creating the orders on time, whatever it's taking, whatever your job is, whatever your role is, demand managers not being in tune with what needs to be done and not providing the right information on time. These kind of things could happen. It's a little humor on my part, but I mean they can happen, and I'm sure you all can attest to that fact that it's happening where you work or where you manage. So one of the worst uses of time is to do something very well that's not needed done at all. And I find that a lot of times we will gravitate towards things that we love to do, and they consume our time, but they may not be the most important things on the agenda to do. And we spend a lot of time in those areas without really understanding the criticalness of the other things, because either we're procrastinating or we just love doing the other things way more. All right. So one of the very worst uses of time is doing something very well that's not needed at all. And we can comment on that during the comment section, but you can't recycle time. Once it's wasted and once it's gone, it's gone. You just can't get it back. So managing time to maximize performance, effective time management. Ken, is there a way I can get rid of the people's the names and the faces over here? Because it's right in my slides. How can I
You
minimize?
can drag them to the top, I think. Olivia,
Can
you're
I?
a Zoom expert.
Wait a minute. Maybe can I just show small? Okay, that
You
might
can
help.
I'm
drag,
assuming
I
they're
got it.
at,
I got
yeah,
it.
you
You
can
got it.
drag the line over.
Yeah, I did. It's fine. So,
Okay.
effective time management is not just about meeting deadlines. It's about aligning people, processes, and priorities to ensure smooth material flow, right? Timely deliveries and optimal use of resources. So that's really when I'm looking at time management, that those are the things, especially in the supply chain area, because that's what we're talking about tonight. Those are the things that I really want to focus on. I want to align people, processes, and priorities to ensure smooth material flow, timely deliveries, and optimal use of resources. Right. When time is managed well, workload, balance, productivity increases, and the entire supply chain operates with greater precision, flexibility, and control. So time is one of the most valuable and limited resources. And just looking at those two big squares of information, those of us that are involved and have been involved in our careers with planning and managing and hitting timelines, meeting customers' expectations. We know that everything has to work in alignment. And if it's not in alignment and everyone's not focused on the critical things, the train gets off the track real quick, right? If I'm a materials planner and I haven't cut my orders cut out of the system, I haven't brought them to the shop, I haven't released them, I haven't closed my orders, I'm in inventory, I haven't received time, I got inventory that's sitting on the dock and it's not getting into on hand, and it goes on and on and on. You can understand that. I don't have to explain all those idiosyncrasies, but there are things that have to be done on time, because listen to this, and it's something to think about. Your ERP system typically is running behind the scenes all the time. You're reacting to that. Your system's reacting to things that it thinks it needs to be done. And if you as individuals or your people as individuals aren't taking those signals and running with them as required in the time frame that's required, that's a bad use of your time. And that also starts to cause chaos where everyone thinks that they don't have the time to do things because they didn't spend the correct time when they had to. Okay. So managing that time effectively is really important. And again, once you lose it, it's gone. All right. What happened here? Okay, let's go. Something is stopping me from going forward here. There we go. So, what is time management again? Time management's definition is planning, prioritizing, and controlling time spent on activities. Pretty easy, right? The goal is to increase efficiency, productivity, and reduce stress. That's what you want to do with your time management. Now, every day that has to be practiced. Just got through with a big project with a company called Spectrum, where they have it's a human resource kind of a human service kind of a process, right? It's a company that provides services for the needy. Well, they have a home and they have different places where people live, and there's a few people that have to manage a home with a lot of clients in it. And one of the goals there that has to be done every day, and it's by state law, is they have to provide and the medicine for these people, the different prescriptions they have, and they have to do it in a 60-minute window. If it's not given in a 60-minute window, they get a penalty. They get an error that says, "Hey, look, you didn't do what it was said to do by law, and it didn't happen, and now you got to go through all this stuff that has to be done." So you think about the timing and the control of timing that this needed, because every one of those people that are in those homes, some take 10 pills, some takes 5 pills, some won't swallow pills. It goes on and on and on. So managing time was critical for them. And we spent a couple of days working with them and doing value map and looking at their timing and how we can make the time happen and where people were spending their time and not getting to their critical activities. And their goal was to increase efficiency, productivity, and reduce stress. And the key was those three things. Important in business. It helps meets deadlines. If we're not doing things in a timely manner, deadlines go. If we're not doing things, we're not getting product out the door on time. If it's done and it's in shipping and hasn't been actually put on a truck and delivered, then our customers, we're not satisfying our customers. It improves quality of work. If we do things on time, I'm assuming when I'm talking about this is that we're staffed appropriately, right? So if you're coming from a company that is always short of staff and doesn't have enough people on hand, well, that could be a little bit more difficult to try to make them work to a more critical time resource. But I'm assuming that we're doing that and we're staffed properly or trying to staff properly. So by having the right focus on time, it improves quality of work, it reduces wasted effort. If I don't have to do things over and over again because I was late doing it, now it's too late. I got to get something redone, reprinted, rebalanced, rescheduled, whatever it is. You reduce that wasted effort. And it increases work-life balance, because if I'm in work and I've got to try to manage my time and I'm just going crazy running around every day, not focused and not working on the correct things, and things are getting behind, that could be a real issue for you personally, right? So, introduction to time management in business. This is kind of a lead-in slide, but Understanding the importance of time management. Well, I hope you understand that it minimizes waste. Effective time management reduces wasted resources, thereby optimizing organizational productivity and cost efficiencies, right? So if I do that whole lean thing and I'm looking at waste and I've reduced my waste and I've value mapped and got my processes as good as I can have them. Effective time management then applied to that really will help reduce wasted resources and optimize organizational productivity and cost efficiencies. Helps understanding time importance when it comes to meeting customer expectations. Managing time well enables timely deliveries and enhances customer satisfaction and certainly in competitive markets, right? If on time is a key expectation of your customers, and it mostly is, I'm sure it is, then you need to meet that. You can't be a week late, 2 days late, 3 days late, have all these kind of exception things, and you measure yourself. If you're 80% on time, you're good. If you're, that's crazy stuff. If it's 100, if you got to hit those targets on time every time. So managing your time and being able to do that is, to me, one of the most important features of customer expectation is meeting that deadline and that date. I mean, they're expecting that product to be delivered on time. They have a whole bunch of processes that need to get done, and they're looking for it, and you can't be late. Prioritizing tasks. Prioritizing tasks helps maintain focus on critical deadlines and supports smooth business operation. Setting smart goals is really the key in understanding the importance of time management. Understanding these three or four things here on this slide is important to make sure you're applying time management and your people are understanding what they need to work on, what their expectations are. So that's really key. Let's not assume I need four more planners or three more demand planners or a couple of more buyers. Let's understand what my existing workforce is doing and what their critical things they need to do are being done in a timely manner. All right. Time management seeks to maximize productivity by minimizing wasted effort. We just went over that. Supply chain management seeks to maximize value by minimizing waste and cost and delays. So you can see the similarities, right? Time management seeks to maximize productivity by minimizing waste. Supply chain management seeks to maximize value by minimizing waste. So they both tie together. You can't, in my opinion, you can't be excelling in supply chain management without unbelievable skills and desire to make time and management of time a critical element of your management team. Both rely on optimizing workflows, eliminating bottlenecks, and making better use of resources. Prioritizing demand planning. Time management focuses on priority setting and finding the key items. Supply management uses demand forecasting, inventory classifications to decide where to allocate resources. So in time management, I'm focused on priority setting and finding the key items that I need to work on. Now you switch that over to supply chain management, uses demand forecasting, inventory classifications, decide where to allocate resources. So both are needed and both need each other. Time management absolutely needs to be a focus if you're going to be able to do that supply management things correctly. Translating personal productivity frameworks into supply chain prioritization helps align focuses with business critical needs. Okay, so that's prioritizing and demand planning. Definitely time management plays a role there. Scheduling and flow. Time management uses calendars, blocks, routines to ensure tasks flow logically. And supply chain management, we use production schedules, transportation plans, sales and operation plans to align operations with customer demand. Both require discipline, scheduling, and visibility to prevent last minute disruptions. So that's when you apply time management and time understanding to supply chain management, scheduling, and flow, you can see where it's needed, and both play a role together, right? As that's kind of what I've been trying to want to make sure you understand at the end of the presentation, that time management isn't just something we can talk about and hope we get done, or we just say to our team, look, you got to pay more attention. You got to pay. It really is a critical thing that has to be worked on a day-to-day basis and backed up, right? So your team has to know that you're standing behind them on that stuff. Bottleneck awareness and time management, distractions or procrastination act as bottlenecks, right? So it's pretty easy. I mean, I have to fight that all the time. I'm one of the biggest procrastinators in the world, and I shouldn't be, but I am. And I always focus in at the last minute. I drive for success and I drive to get it done, and I'll stay up nights and do the work. But so and in business, when you're running a factory or running an operation, procrastination and distractions are really something that can't be tolerated. And you really have to be prepared to manage your group and your employees and have them understand those two things and how they're working in those areas. So in to supply chains, machine downtime, vendor delays, or logistics breakdown are bottlenecks, right? So I mean, I have to spend time talking. Those happen all the time, right? You've got the best plan laid out, and you've got the best schedule in the world scheduled, and bang, your two key machines that are needed to do the work, or whatever it is that is needed to do the work, are down, or you're expecting a customer or a vendor delivery and you got a vendor delivery delay. And also you have to be prepared for all that time. And time management and supply chain management, they kind of play the same role there. So you can see where if you've got distractions and procrastinations in time, you got the same issue with supply chain management, with downtime, vendor delays, logistic breakdowns, etc. So key here is identifying constraints early and removing them is central in both areas. So I mean, whatever it is in either one of those areas, you have to be prepared to understand it and not have it. You have to manage through them, and you have to train your people, and you have to watch your processes. So bottlenecks and awareness, both in time management and supply chains, key, right? Here's kind of an interesting slide. Standard work and discipline. Time management thrives on repeatable habits and routines, right? So if time management means that I'm going to give my employees, they got procedures and they got things and schedules that they have to work on, that's repeatable. They have to do it every day. All right, or they have to do it every 2 days, or whatever the time periods are for a certain process or certain habits that have to be done. They has to be repeatable, so they got it and they understand it and they can do it every day and practice it. Well, look at supply chain thrives on standard operating procedures and lean practices. So in both cases, you've got standard things and repeatable things that have to be done and understood. Discipline and execution is key to predictability and reliability, right? So the discipline in those two areas for execution, predictability, and reliability is very, very important. And they're kind of the same. When I started doing this talk, and Ken asked me about 4 years ago to get ready for this talk, it seems that long ago. I understood. I said, look, I started realizing that time management does play a major role in making sure that supply chain management is done correctly. I mean, look at the breadth of supply chain management, right? And you've probably heard this over and over again. It goes from all the way from the raw material through all the process, through buying, purchasing, managing, manufacturing, whatever, executing, shipping, and getting it to the customer. That's a tremendous amount of effort that has to be put in there. Not easy. Things are attacking it every day, right? All the things that happen to you in your operation. And you can't let time management be in that way when you've got all the regular things that are happening, late orders, downtime, machines not working, changes in demand, and whatever that are added demand. You can't have all of that happen and not be managing your time correctly. It's a disaster waiting to happen if that's the case. Time management breaks down when stakeholders, bosses or teams, families, whatever, are not aligned. All right. And I said this, not only I believe that you have to be totally in line from your demand all the way through the shipping of your product. I think you have to be totally in line when it comes to time management. All the groups and all the teams need to know what their role is and what the time elements they have to do their role in, and what happens when they're late or they procrastinate. They have to understand that. Supply chain management breaks down when suppliers, production, and customers aren't aligned. So the same thing. They got if you're not aligned all the way from, as far as I'm concerned, from the front end of the business, supply chain, from sales and operations planning, wherever you want to take that. I'll just start with the customer order coming in. If you're not aligned with that all the way out the door, disaster's waiting. Clear communication and shared expectations are crucial. So, I mean, when it comes to time management, you expect your employees to give you that time management to be working on the critical things. But if you don't share the expectations and you don't communicate that well with them, it'll break down, right? You understand that, right? You've probably seen it in your own facilities that if I've got poor communications and I'm not setting the goals and setting the expectation, then it doesn't matter how much you train time management. And by the way, it doesn't matter how good your supply chain process systems work, still things won't get done on time or it won't get done correctly. I show this slide a lot. Every one of us knows that most companies, and especially from demand management through shipping the product out the door, everyone's wearing all kinds of hats these days, right? So what's that tell you? That tells you if you've got all those hats and you're wearing them, not only are you wearing them, but your planner and your buyer and the supervisor on the factory floor, people in the inventory area, people in the supply chain, no matter where they are, typically are wearing more than one hat. So time management is critical, guys, right? You can't wear those hats and try to manage them without understanding what the critical hat is that you have to work on and when you got to wear it. A company's time management, looking at time management from a company's perspective, what are the benefits? Well, if I'm looking at time management, this is what I would expect, by the way, if I'm spending time on it, is improved productivity through the improved use of time, right? So I can't have I always pick on planners or buyers. Say a buyer doesn't, gets a release, gets something he's got to order. The system tells him he's got to place it on order. Well, it comes in regardless if they're using a portal or they're still doing snail mail or however they're sending that to the supplier. If it sits on the desk a day, it typically becomes a week late, right? I mean, I have to react to the types of process I have when I have to react. I can't let things queue up. I can't procrastinate. When a planner has a factory order that has to be cut and sent to the floor, it's got to be cut and sent to the floor, right? It can't sit. And before it's sent to the floor, he has to understand whether or not it can be started if he's got time or if he's got bottlenecks. So the clock has started. He has to continue to work or she has to continue to work through that processes immediately, right? The time is critical in that case, right? Because things aren't always going to go perfectly. We all know that for sure. Improve performance in critical functions. Improve profitability through the improved use of your workforce, critical resources, people. All right. So, I mean, the people are critical now. Time is critical now. I mean, they're not, you don't have senior excellent planners just waiting in line to work for you or buyers waiting in line to come to your company. So the people you have in place, I'm sure you hired them for a reason and mostly good, I'm sure they need to have their time managed correctly, right? And you have to give them that critical eye and help to make sure that happens. So how do your people spend a 168-hour work week? And some of you will probably say, well, I work 300 hours a week, but so we'll tell you what, I'll take you with a 168-hour work week. All right. Here's some ways you can prioritize your goals and activities. There's a couple of ways when I was managing companies and not living the good life as a consultant, I use these kind of methods, right? So there's one I call the ABC method, right? So number one is list all your goals. So I'm going to manage this, so I know what my goals are. I know what I have to do. And by the way, every one of you as a manager needs to make sure that your people have those. I know what my goals are. I know what I have to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? I know what I need to get done. And in those days, I need to know one, two, three, four, what's the most important. So then you'd rate each goal. Eight items are high value, then medium value, then low value. And then you want to plan your A activities designed to accomplish your A goals. So you want to work on your A goals. I mean, maybe the medium and the low are kind of valuable too, but if wearing all those hats, you can't get to your low ones, then you got to make sure you do the high ones and the A goals and get them done on time. And by the way, perfectly. Another way of looking at it is the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rules, you all know. List all your A activities in order of importance. Accomplishing the top 2 of 10 results in an 80% success rate. Focusing on the top 20% of your to-do list will get you 80% of the way to your goal. So if you are so overloaded and you as a manager knows if you know your planning team or buying team is overloaded, you kind of have to make them prioritize this way or help them prioritize this way. You got your A suppliers with the longest lead time and the highest prices or the highest value to your company. They have to be managed perfectly, right? So you want to be focusing on them. I mean, your bolts, nuts, and screws may be important, but they might not be important as some of the other items, as important as some of the other items. And I'm sure as you sit in a phone, as you sit on this thing, you say, oh, Dan, the bolts and nuts are just important. If I don't have the bolts and nuts, I can't shit the product. And you're right. You're right. But I'm saying if you just don't have the time or the number of employees, or they don't have the time in the day, they've got to kind of prioritize. I'm not saying not to get to the bolts, nuts, and screws. I'm just saying you want to look at those A items and B items maybe first, right? So just to kind of give you a little bit of a prioritizing activities here. And I don't know if you do this or if it's just ingrained in what you do. And often companies and managers and supervisors think that their people are ingrained in these kind of thinking. And if they dig a little deeper, they would find that they're not. Key principles of effective time management: setting clear goals, right? Establishing specific and clear goals, direct focus, and motivates action toward desired outcome. So if you set the goals, it'll motivate them toward the desired outcome. Prioritizing tasks, just as we've seen. Organizing tasks by importance ensures that critical activities receive attention first, leading to better productivity. And avoiding multitasking. And here we go again, we're wearing multiple hats. Focus on one task at a time, increases efficiency, and reduces mistakes caused by divided attention. So, and you want to try to avoid multitasking, but you still got to get some of that work done. Again, it becomes a way of rating the things that are most important to get done first, second, third, and kind of working on the other ones when you can, right? Or dividing it a bit, or making the team divided a little bit. Some of the team are working on the A, B items, and the other part of the team is working on some of the lesser ones. Or perhaps you can manage like that. Planning and evaluation. Planning ahead and regularly reviewing time usage helps optimize schedules and improve work habits, right? So let's just look at that and evaluate it. How's my team working? And are they doing things that I'm getting it call from the supervisor in the factory saying, I'm just not getting my releases quickly. I get an order out in the shop, the due date is already past due, or I'm 5 days into the process, and now I've got to try to pull this rabbit out of the hat. Something didn't happen. I didn't get my documentation on time. Whatever I'm just using the simple things that may not happen in your facility, but evaluating those and saying, as a manager, well, why didn't that happen? And you get the answer, well, I was doing something else and I was clearing exception messages or I was doing this and that. And yet he's got a desk with a 5 foot high pile of orders that hasn't hit the shop floor yet. So evaluating the right things is important, right? A proactive, and I guess that's what I just talked about, a proactive attitude is important, right? Focus on what you can control and learn to let the rest go. What choices are you making with your time? Focus on the key elements of your supply chain. Okay, I look at this as, this kind of learn to wow the customer, listen, expectations, ask, read, react, next opportunity. So kind of apply the learn process to your timing and what I'm working on in the course of a day, week, or month, right? So now let's just take a look at the time management and overview of the supply chain process, right? So here there's 21 of these, and I'll go through some of them with you. But you're going to have this presentation so you can kind of look at them, and hopefully you can use some of these in your thinking of this. So setting the table is what we call it. Decide exactly what you want. Write out goals and objectives before you begin. And you might want that to every one of the people that work for you or you work with, however it is, you might want to understand and have those goals written out and the objectives written out for the day, for the week. What's important? I call it think on paper. Every minute you spend on planning, you can save 5 to 10 minutes in execution. So plan it, whether it's on paper, whether it's on your iPad, laptop, whatever you're using, plan it out so that you know what you're going to do. And of course, don't let every day be a surprise, right? Don't let every day when you come in, your desk is the way you left it that night. It's full of stuff. Or it's on your computer, or it's home in your office, wherever you're working from. Don't leave it without having a plan for the next day, right? So it'll really save you time if you understand it and have that set up like that. Apply the 80-20 rule. 20% of your activities will account for 80% of your results. Always concentrate on the 20%. And saw that in that other slide. Consider the consequences. Your most important tasks and priorities are those that can have the most serious consequences of your life or work. Focus on these, right? So you can apply a lot of what I'm talking about. You can apply at home too, or your home life. But we're here talking about work mostly. But look at your most important task. What is the most serious? What could be give you the most serious consequences? A late order to a customer that is already threatening to leave you as a company and go somewhere else. And if you're going to continue to be late, well, that would be one that I would want to have all my time managed to get that correct and make sure I'm shipping that customer's product on time, right? Or working with my most critical supplier, and I'm making sure that they get the purchase orders on time, that I've given them the right lead time, that they have the right documentation, that they can meet the specs on the requirement. Make sure that's happening, and that may be where you need to spend your time because it's not being done right, right? Practice creative procrastination. Deliberately put off those tasks that are low value so you have time to work on what counts. So here it would be just like procrastination in the reverse, right? So let the ones that are not the most critical and not going to give you the most serious consequences kind of sit. Don't forget them forever, but you want to work on the ones that really count. Use the ABC method that we talked about. Focus on key result areas. Identify and determine those results that are absolutely positively have to get done. Work on them all day long if you have to. The law of three. Identify three things you do in your work that accounts for 90% of your contribution and focus on them. I mean, maybe that should be the post. So you're managing planners, you're managing buyers. So you might identify the three things in their work that has to be done and contribute on them, and they can do those and focus on them on a daily basis. All right. So again, there's a lot of work when it comes to time. You can't expect. I think a lot of managers and supervisors, etc., group leaders, whatever, they just think this is obvious that the people are doing this, their employees are doing this, they're working and thinking in these ways, and or the people are so afraid that they don't get everything done on time that they won't have a job or it'll affect their pay or however it's going to be. So they try to do a little bit of everything, and the most key elements of their job aren't getting done on time, and the effects could be worse. Prepare thoroughly before you begin. Have everything you need at hand. Take one at a time. Don't try to do everything at once. You can upgrade skill levels, leverage your special talents, determine what you're very good at doing, and throw the whole heart into those specific things and do them really, really well. Identify key constraints, just like your supply chain. Put the pressures on yourself. Imagine you have to leave work for a month. You work like that, you get things done. It kind of puts some pressure on you. Maximize your personal power. Again, they're like I say, there's 21 of these, and I'd rather have you, instead of reading them all to you one at a time, take a look at them and find out which ones fit and which ones you can get some benefit out of it in your own organization, your own life, maybe. So core components of the supply chain. I mean, we all are supply chain experts, I guess, on this phone call or this Zoom call, and we know these, but I thought I'd put them in here. Procurement process, right? Procurement involves sourcing and acquiring raw materials needed for production efficiently and cost effectively. So those are key things, and the right people have to spend the right time doing those things, right? Production activities. You want to transform your raw materials into finished goods, get them ready, manufactured, quality out, and ship them. Again, transportation and warehousing, distribution to customers are all like core components of the supply chain. So I know if I've got a team of people working in those different functions that I have to manage. There's certain elements of their day and week that I have to manage and need to manage really closely. I have to give them time to do these functions right? And they don't seem to be super difficult, but there's a tremendous more involved with each one of those elements than I just put on this one slide. So, time can get away from you really quickly, right? The role of timing and scheduling in supply chain operations. So I want to reduce delays and bottlenecks. I want to accurate timing and scheduling minimizes delays and prevents bottlenecks in the supply chain process. When your system is working for you and your ERP is planning, well, we assume that all the data in your ERP system is 100% accurate. So all your lead times, order policies, lot sizes, safety stocks, all that stuff is absolutely perfect. So that's working, right? Demand's coming in, it's hitting the top of that, it's the first thing that hits that system, and the system just starts reacting to all the data that you've got loaded in your system. Well, if that's all right, then what it expects is when it produces the output, it expects your people to be able to do that what it says to do when it said to do it, right? And so now that's really where the timing comes in. So you want to reduce the delays and bottlenecks after you get that information. It improves inventory management. Timely scheduling enhances inventory control, reduces excessive stock and shortages. So I want to cut those orders on time to the supplier. I want to receive them on time. I want to put them through quality control on time. I want to get them on hand so that the system knows I have it. So when I cut my work orders, it realizes that the inventory is really there and lets you cut it. So it doesn't let you cut an order just to find out that the inventory is not there that was supposed to be there, right? So there you go from a time management. It'll just suck the life out of your whole process if that's happening on a regular basis. Synchronizing stakeholders, coordinating activities across all supply chain partners ensures the timely deliveries and cost efficiencies. So you've got to make that synchronization happen, that alignment happen within all your stakeholders, right? And alignment, I do a whole workshop on just aligning the stakeholders. It's so key. And if anyone's out of alignment, it just throws the timing off for the downstream stakeholders, right? And it just puts chaos into the process. So common time-related challenges in the supply chain is unpredictable demand. Fluctuating customer demand complicates supply forecasting and inventory management, leading to inefficiencies. Right? We understand that. We all have that unpredictable demand. I mean, we try to say it's going to be perfect, but we know it's not. Hopefully, you're doing some sales and operations planning that helps that a little bit, but that's going to happen. And we better have the time and we better have the understanding and the training and education in the group that knows that's going to happen and they can effectively make the changes when necessary. Transportation delays. Delays in transportation disrupts delivery schedules and increases lead times, impacting overall supply chain. Inefficient workflows. Poorly designed workflows cause bottlenecks, slow down supply chain process, reduce operational efficiencies. I tell you right now that your workflows have to be perfect. The way to make your workflows perfect is all your key workflows need to be value mapped to the nth degree. You have to understand where the waste are, get rid of the waste, and make the workflows work for you. You can't have, we go into a company often and we just do a workflow map on something, and they sit back and they say, I can't believe we do that. I didn't know we did that. Why do we do that? Why do I move that piece of paper over to that desk just to get it signed off to move it back? What does that mean? Why are we doing that? So your workflows have to be perfect. Communication gaps. Lack of effective communication creates misunderstandings, coordinating issues among supply chain partners. So, are you communicating correctly? Does everybody get updated every day, every minute of the day, every hour of the day, whatever it takes to make sure that your whole process works correctly, right? There's some challenges with workers now working from home and working in different divisions that have to communicate with another division. So there's all and working right next to each other, desk to desk. I have communication gaps. So that common time related issues in the supply chain are all happening in those five things that are four things that are in front of you, right? So you have to make sure that that's you know not happening, and you're spending the time to make sure the people are using their time correctly in those areas. They're all key in supply chain, right? And they're all going to happen. Time management tools. So there's a lot of time management tools. I mean, you can train, obviously training, educating, and making everybody aware of the things they have to do on time is key. But there's digital calendars and planners that can be used. Task management apps like Trello and Microsoft to-do lists are out there that can be used. Time blocking management, blocking methods are happening. Pomodoro technique is kind of working on the key 25 key things 25-minute increments, and you've got your planning your day like that. So these are things that if you don't understand what they are, you might want to look into them a little bit. Um, I mean, there are a lot of tools out there that can help you time management. Everybody says, I got an ERP system. I got these beautiful things that are happening. It does things and it tells me what to do. Well, it does. And if it's working correctly and you've got it set up correctly, which I hope you do again, it's going to give you the information. You just now got to find the time to use it correctly, right? You can't. So these things might help on that. And then you kind of that's the gap you have to bridge, right? You've got to say, I've got this system that works at the speed of light, right? It's giving you data as fast as it possibly can, and with AI, it's getting faster and faster and faster, right? So you've got to be able to take that information, use it management correctly. I mean, because it's just going to be it's just this is just exponentially getting faster. Business is exponentially getting faster. So this is like a quadrant thing that I've set up. You've got urgent and not urgent on the top, and not important and important up the side, right? So you got quadrant one, management quadrant of necessity, right? This crisis is happening, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, meeting preparations, and that kind of stuff that's really urgent there, right? And now on this other side, quadrant two, it's not so urgent. It's preparation, prevention, value clarification, relationship building through recreation. It's empowerment, these things that I wouldn't call them, certainly I wouldn't call them soft skills, but they may not be quite as important as quadrant one, right? Quadrant three, again, is it's under the urgent, but not as important. It's interruptions, some phone calls happening, some mail reports, some meetings. Well, I'd love the meeting one. I get told, Dan, you won't believe it. I can't believe I'm in meetings all day long. I go from one meeting to look at my Outlook. Look at it. They say, look, I got 100 meetings scheduled. They overschedule me. They don't pay attention to my schedule. Well, you got to get through that. You got to work with people. It's got to be aligned. And by the way, you just have to refuse the meetings you can't are not meaningful to the whole process, right? It's not hard. It's not easy to do, and but those are some of the things that that'll just time drains on you. And quadrant four, avoid waste, trivia, busy work, junk mail, phone calls, time wasters, escape. You can't have your quality guys on the quality area talking about last night's football game when they need to be concentrating on the income and quality from the supplier and the quality off the shop floor, the factory floor, right? That's key. So these 15-minute conversations, 10-minute conversations. Everybody said, well, Dan, they got 8 hours. Well, they don't have 8 hours. Most of my people that I talk to, suppliers, buyers, whoever they are, they understand the time that people really have in a day. 5.5 or 6 hours is what they got. So they can't take that and reduce that 5.5 or 6 hours into a 4-hour day, right? And so very important to kind of look at these quadrants and see where you fall in these things. I mean, how are you managing them, and where are your people working? And hopefully they're not working a lot in that non-urgent area, right? So time management and supply chain management. So meeting deadlines in production, key. Aligning tasks with project timelines, synchronizing your work with supply chain schedules, understanding that a time in a day just to plan and prioritize. Again, you don't have an 8 hour day if you're working an 8 hour day. You don't have a 10 hour shift if you're working 10 hours. You don't have that. A lot of companies are working a 4 day week and they're working their people 10 hours a day. Well, they think they're getting 40 hours out of that. In many cases, they just don't understand how many real touch time hours, I call it touch time, that they have. People that are actually on the phone working or writing or on the computer or working in a factory, a lot less than that 10 or 8 hours, right? You need time to align operations and the vendor base. You need to be doing all that in the supply chain and then communicating. Every one of these functions has a time element to it and needs to be worked, communicated, and done accordingly. So let's talk about integration, time management into the supply chain operation. All right. Techniques for optimizing scheduling and workflow. So just-in-time inventory. Just-in-time inventory minimizes excessive stock by receiving goods only as needed, reduces storage cost and waste. So I've got to get time now, right? I may not, I may not be able to do some of these things. I just don't have them as a process in my organization. But just-in-time inventory, I don't want to receive inventory 3 months ahead of time. I don't want to have so much safety stock that it's driving my storeroom and my receiving and my quality group crazy, not knowing what to put in first, second, or third. All right, I might want to be working on some vendor managed inventory processes where I'm not even receiving that stock, that the suppliers are bringing it in and suppliers are stocking it at point of use. I want to be doing those kinds of things, right, to help that out. Demand forecasting predicts future customer demand using historical data to optimize inventory and production planning. Well, I better be careful there. I want to make sure that I'm doing that. Those are techniques to optimize scheduling and workflow. Am I using sales and operations planning? Now, in other words, if I predicted my future so that when my orders come in, I know I have the resources to be able to do their work. And then when I get my demand, am I booking orders at lead time or inside lead time? Am I driving everybody crazy? And do I have enough inventory to produce that and my resources in the production area? Critical path analysis. Critical path analysis identifies essential projects, tasks to optimize scheduling and minimize delays and flows, right? One of the key ones I find an awful lot, especially in a manufacturing group that has a factory that has work centers in it, is that I often don't have a critical document. It's called capacity planning, right? If I don't have capacity planning and my planners have got to try to plan work to hit that factory, and they don't know if it can be done or not. There goes my day, there goes my time. I'm sending stuff out there that can't be done. I'm getting kickback from the factory floor saying, "What are you sending this out for? I'm already overloaded," and the whole circle there that it gets into. Process mapping is a visual representative of workflow to identify efficiency. I'm a believer in process mapping. And process mapping doesn't take all day to do, right? If you got the most critical process you have with the right people in the room, you can map it out and understand it in an hour, right? It doesn't take all day to do it. And then in a couple of more hours, if you spent in that room with that map in front of you, you could probably break it down, understand what's wasted, not wasted, and what needs to be done, and put a map together and a process together that's excellent. So that's less than a half a day. You can do that. So, I mean, process mapping is a real key tool, and I just hope that you're all working in those areas. And some of these other things, just in time, whatever it means to you, demand forecasting, and critical path analysis, right? All key elements. So leveraging technology, hopefully you got an ERP system or some kind of planning system in place. And by the way, it has to be accurate, right? And I hope it is for you because if you got an ERP system in place that's you're always second guessing, and all your planners and your buyers got their own little spreadsheet processes in their desk drawer, and that's what they're using, and not using the actual main system, you know that that's just disaster waiting to happen and probably happening, and you don't even know it. And then you say, well, why are my planners and buyers and why are my key guys and key supervisors in the factory not they just not doing a job right? Well, it's not that they're doing a job right. The system didn't give the beginning starting information correctly, and everybody's second guessing everybody else, right? And that's just a time drag and again a disaster waiting to happen. Real-time tracking technology provides up-to-date information for better monitoring and faster responses. That's needed. Automation for efficiency. Automate, reduce manual tasks. Yeah, get rid of as many manual tasks as you can. AI can help with that. I mean, you really need to kind of jump into some of that artificial intelligence thinking, right? That it can provide you a lot of resources, right? Inventory and warehousing. It could look at risk management, prediction of maintenance. So preventive maintenance can be if you've got the right equipment and the right setup on your machines, it can tell you whether you've not got some risk on the machines. You know, it goes on and on what AI can help you with. So if you're not using some of those AI techniques, and if you haven't even begun, by the way, it takes a lot of work to drive those, takes a lot of good information to feed it, and a lot of systems to be able to drive that. So it's not that easy to say, well, AI is just not looking at Chat GPT, asking them to write an article for you. It's a lot bigger than that, and it's coming. And if you aren't doing some of the work to look at that, then you're probably missing the boat a little bit there. So taking a collaborative approach for better time utilization is fostering transparency and coordination. Collaboration among suppliers, manufacturing, distributors promotes transparency and improves coordinating across the supply chain. So if you're doing that and you're making that happen, that's good. If you're not doing that or it's not happening all the time, you're just waiting for a time. It's just going to come to you and it's going to say, look I'm a supplier. I'm just not getting the right information on time. I'm the factory. I'm not getting my information on time. I'm the warehouse. I'm not getting the inventory on time. It goes on and on and on. So that collaboration among suppliers and manufacturing throughout the supply chain is key, right? So any of you that are buying and you're getting your bulkier product from overseas, you know how important that is. It's got to come across the water. You got to get in an airplane seat and fly it. Whatever you got to do to get that product over here is really a timing effort. It takes a considerable amount of time to do that. And you're working in a time zone that's different than your own. So think about that transparency and coordination that has to be done there. It's unbelievably hard. Sharing information efficiently, timely sharing of information between partners reduces lead times and enhances decision-making process. All right. Joint problem solving, collaborated problem solving helps address challenges and quickly improves overall responsive and operation. So collaborating and being a partner in all of that and alignment and all that kind of stuff we've been talking about really helps you better utilize your time and effort, right? And lets you focus on the critical things, right? Okay. Case study, successful time management and supply chain, right? So real world examples are lean principle implementation. Toyota utilizes lean manufacturing to reduce waste and streamline production processes effectively. When you look at Toyota, they have, for instance, there's a process in lean called Kanban. They have hundreds of those things happening in the course of a week, month, or year. They're always focusing on utilizing and reducing and streamlining processes, which also effectively gives them more time to work on the critical thing. Advanced technology uses. Amazon leverages advanced technology to enhance time management and speed up deliveries. For God's sakes, I can want a book this morning. I can order it and have it delivered by noon today from Amazon. It's incredible what they've done in those areas. And don't you think they practice time management? Oh my God, it's the key to one of the keys to their business. Benefits to business. Optimized time management results faster delivery, reduces cost, and higher customer satisfaction. And I think that's unbelievable in those cases of Toyota and Amazon and others. They really are working on those issues and working on time management for sure. So lessons learned and best practices. Continuous monitoring. Ongoing monitoring helps identify issues early and supports proactive decision making. So if I'm looking at um, my time management and I'm not feeling that I'm getting the best out of what I've got out there from a staff, I want to make sure I'm monitoring that and understanding where the issues are so I can help support them. It's not so that I can yell and scream at them and put them on whatever. I want to be able to support them. You want to be able to enhance their ability. By enhancing their ability, they enhance the whole process, and eventually it flows back up to you doing a good job, right? Adaptability. Being adaptable allows teams to respond effectively to changes and emerging challenges, right? Investing in technology, we talked about technology, I think, is something that most companies need to be invested in. And if you're not, then I don't know what to say, but you don't understand that without the right technology, it's very difficult to do a real excellent job in supply chain management because of all the things that happen to that supply chain. Efficient time management, cultivating a culture that prioritizes time management improves productivity across all levels. And if you have that culture, if you don't have that culture, you need to think about it and how I can make it happen. And it's just not setting out a policy tomorrow and publishing it and sending it to everybody. It's really cultivating that culture of time management. Future trends and strategic recommendations. So emerging technology. So there's blockchain transparency, right? Blockchain technologies improve supply chain transparency by providing and securing transaction records. And if you're using that, excellent. It's real-time tracking and monitoring of shipment enhancements. It's that's really important for people to look at that. That's the Internet of Things that you can make devices talk to each other and understand and get feedback from each other. Machine learning and machine learning algorithms predict supply chain delays, optimize scheduling, improve time management. These are all some emerging technology that's not, it's not the bleeding edge. These things have been around and they're proven, and you might want to be thinking about, if you're not thinking about embracing those, right? Regular performance reviews. That's kind of conducting regular reviews help track efficiency and identify areas for improvement in the supply chain, excuse me, right? So performance reviews are kind of an important thing to do. And it's not like, oh, I'm going to give you a performance review every 6 months and this and that. It's continuous performance review. It's feedback that's regular, daily, hourly, whatever it takes to do that so that you're on top of the things that have to be done and you're understanding how your team is working to make that supply chain work for you. Adopting agile methods. Agile methodologies allow flexibility, quick adaptation to change. It improves the time management and supply chain. So, are your processes agile? Again, that's one of the things that you can lean out by looking at your value maps of your key areas and understanding how agile they could possibly be. Encouraging feedback loops. Feedback loops foster continuous communication. It enables ongoing refinement of your time management practices, right? So if you're giving good feedback when it's needed, not 2 weeks later, and not as a criticism, but as a help and a hand to get these people working correctly, and they understand that you're looking at that and trying to advise them when they have a problem, not after they have a problem. So that's kind of key by encouraging feedback loops. I don't know. I think that's a really important one, right? I can't tell you how many times as I was coming up the ladder, I'd have a key manager come to me 3 weeks later and say, Dan, what in the hell happened here? I mean, you just didn't make this happen and blah, blah, blah. I can't even remember the day that it happened, let alone the issue that he's talking about or she's talking about. So I really have practiced on giving that immediate kind of feedback. We want to build a culture of time, consciousness in the supply chain, encouraging accountability, time management training. These types of talks can be done as a lunch and learn. It can be done as just an hour talk to your employees. Could be virtual like this, but it provides employees training on time management skills, you know, and it lets them know that it's an important process and it's important to you and important to your company. Recognizing efficiency improvements, acknowledging and rewarding time-saving initiatives is also encouraged. So if you've got a group of people or a person that's really done some good things in that area, you want to recognize that and give them credit for it, right? So that kind of comes to, I mean, I went through this fairly quickly at 717, and we went through a bunch of things that were time management focused only, and then sort of what time management and supply chain blended together mean. And that was the conclusion, and that's what I tried, and hopefully I gave to you, is the conclusion of blending time and supply chain management. So one of the key things, again, time is a hidden currency of supply chain efficiency. It's a hidden currency. Once it's gone, it's gone. If you've missed it, you can't get it back. You can't make time come back. So that's one of the things you have to kind of concentrate on. Effective planning and prioritization and scheduling drive performance. Visibility and coordination reduces delays, waste, and cost. Strong time management ensures on-time delivery and customer satisfaction. Together, they create a resilient, agile, and competitive organization. The right use of time strengthens the entire supply chain. So, everyone, that's it. And hopefully, if you have some questions, I'll be here as long as it takes to answer them all.
Excellent. Hey, there was one question. It says for ASQ. Oh, sorry, this is for Larry. Larry, can you put your email in chat for the person who's looking for ASQ CEUs? Sorry,
Okay, that's okay.
that'd be great. And now questions for Dan. You have free answers. Hit him up now. Now's the time. Dan, I will say that depending on how I'm feeling that day, I will often, if I have a ton of stuff sitting on my desk, I'll try to get rid of the hardest stuff first, and then it makes it easier to do the rest of the little stuff.
That's correct.
Other
That's absolutely.
days, I want to get volume done, so I'll get a ton of the little stuff done. That leaves just one or two big things for the rest of the day, and then
Yeah.
I work on those.
Uh,
It just depends, I don't know what's a better approach.
Well, I think myself is that that isn't a bad way to work, Ken, at all, right? Some days you're working at the key things, the critical things you want to get them done because you know that the impact that is really important for those. The day you feel like you just want to get some volume out, you still want to take a look at that volume and sort of a little bit by what the critical ones are, and still jump in and work as much as you can on the lower level B and C items, right? Um, and it's just a matter of, it's hard to say. I would think by company, especially, and I know your role, Ken, I know what you're doing, how you work. It's important for you coordinating the product coming in from overseas or wherever it's coming from, in between companies, that your critical stuff is real critical. So I mean, you're gonna. Yeah, I think I would work only. If you're buried and can't get to everything, I would really strongly recommend working on the critical stuff. By the way, and if anybody's got, and they don't have questions tonight, if anybody just wants to call me or email me, I mean, I'm not like a lawyer. My clock never, I don't start charging the minute you call, or do I charge at all? But if you just want to chat about times and time management and supply chain management, I'm always available. If you can catch me in the office, that's the key thing. But if you can, I'm always there to talk, especially to all the ASCM and ASQ pupils. So I'm here for you. Okay.
That was a great talk and very involved. As Larry Spinello, just really trying to soak it all in.
It
Time
is.
management. It's a constant thing that we all have that same. I got to get it done. I got to get it done. How am I going to get this done?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Larry, I can't tell you how many companies, and I think I had mentioned this already. I can't tell you how many companies right now that I'm working for. I won't put out any names out there, but I've got two in New Jersey right now that I spend an awful lot of time on, and they're constantly thinking they need new planners and more planners, more buyers. Well, sooner or later they're going to have an army. Now I'm getting that. I'm being told that by the management team. At the senior level, when I meet with them, they say, "Man, Dan, I got too many buyers and I got too many planners. So what the hell is going on here? I mean, can you tell me?" And I said, "Well, then I take a look at it and I say, well, could be we have to look at their processes. We're going to have to look at their time management, and that's the yin and the yang, and that's happening in a lot of companies. I mean, most companies. You got the senior guy saying, "Man, my my team is getting too big and my payroll is getting too high," and at the lower levels, they say, "I just don't have enough time to do it."
Yeah.
Tough. It's a tough process to manage through, but you have to.
Yeah. Larry, Dan, so what do you do like if you're a procrastinator and you got to clean the garage or clean the house or get started on a new project at work or whatever and you just procrastinate. What's your favorite tip for breaking that?
Well, one of the things that I try to concentrate on is if I've got right now, I've in my own personal life, I've got a lot of that going on because I've kind of put um, two houses into one. I had a death in the family a while ago, but we had to clean it out, and I got all the stuff now in my cellar. So what? And so I've got a lot of things to do. So right now I'm trying to figure out how to get I got junk to come and clean the stuff up I don't need. How do I sort it? And blah, blah, blah. So I've kind of put myself a schedule to say, look at Dan, you got to stop this. I can't look at the whole thing end to end. I've got to drive it into little pieces and say, okay, get down in the cellar. Focus on sorting the stuff you're going to keep from the stuff you're going to toss out. And I got junk, and then then call I got junk to come and get it. No, so those are the only two things you're going to work on. You can't work on anything else, in that area. And I got other things I got to do, but in that area, you just can't go down and play around with the stuff you brought into the cellar and look and say I should keep this, keep that. I mean, that could take forever. You just got to go out, look at it in two pieces, sort it, throw it. And that's what I do. So because I could go down in that cellar and procrastinate for 2 weeks, going through every box, looking at every photo. You just got to be careful of that.
So you just sort of start with the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, you got to take it in pieces and do, another thing is if it's personal and it's in your life, just do one thing a day, right?
Yeah.
Just get one thing, get one goal a day out of the way, and you'll feel a lot better. At work, it's a little bit different because you obviously may have multiple goals, but so put those multiple goals in some kind of an alignment and say, if I do these two or three things every day. If I can leave this desk and leave this office and saying I've done X, Y, and Z, then I feel good about it. The company will be okay. Everything will work. But I've got to do these two or three things, right? And if somebody's calling, well, all of you keyed into how many meetings you get called into every day. I'm just going to say at some point in time, I just got to say I can't. I just won't be there. Let me know. Let me understand it. Send me an email. Let me know that if I'm involved with needing to do something, just let me know. But I've got these XYZ things that I have to do first.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's not
It's
easy. It's not easy to do. And by the way, it gets harder to do if you've got a senior level management team that doesn't give a damn about time management.
hmm.
So,
All right, I have another question for you. Unless somebody else, does anyone else have a question? If not, I'm going to hit you up. All right, so for people that are, well, let's say when they're working at home, how do they get the discipline to? I mean, you're sitting right here, you need your computer. It's 5 o'clock, it's 6 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock, it's 9, 10, 11, midnight. How do you get the discipline to like time manage your own life and
yeah.
say I can't do this? You got
Well,
to have some life. It's
I've got a
it's
good,
really hard for this new work from home crowd
it is.
to break away.
It is. By the way, I have insight on that because I do a lot of work from home and my office isn't at home. So what I do is in the morning, I get up, I have set a time to myself. So whatever it is, 7:30, 6:30, 7:30 when I get up, I get up as if I'm in going to the office, right? And I go down, make a coffee, get ready. I come up, turn the lights on in the office, and the office is open now. And I sit in the office and it starts my day, right? Now, what I don't do is I don't try to put in, well, I got to go to the store, I got to go here, I got to get the car done, you got to work it as if those things can't be done as if you were in an office, that you were out of your home. You have to do that. You got to draw it kind of, you got a desire to do it because you're there, but you can't because you got a job to do, right? And that's one of the, that's, you kind of hit it. That's one of the more difficult things to do, when you're working from home. You got the kids running in and out of the office, you got the dog, you got to feed, you got to walk it, you got to whatever. You can't do that. Not if you're honest about getting your job done. Now, if you don't have deadlines, if you are working from home and you're a writer or you're whatever it is that you can spend some extra time, not to say a writer doesn't work hard, but that you can spend some extra time doing things that aren't actually a 8-hour day job type of thing, well, then you can afford to, you're not procrastinating. You can just afford to do it because you know you got time. The other side is if you don't have time limits to hit, or if you're not aligning it to anybody else in that process that's not working from home, you can work later in the day. You can work at night, as a consultant, we don't ever stop. I could be sitting watching a ball game, and then the ball game's over. I get up and I'll write a report, or I'll do a paper or whatever it is. And it could be 10, 11 o'clock at night when I'm doing that, right? But I'm not aligned to anybody else waiting for information. So I mean, it's a real pull. And when you're working from home. And by the way, I get up, I dress, I'm not working all day in my pajamas. I mean, you really got to set some goals for yourself.
Hey, gang, I have to hit the road. So, adios.
Okay, Larry. Hey, good to talk to you, Larry. Good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah.
All right. By the way, it was great talk. I mean, I don't know how many people are still there, but it was great talking to all the different areas today. I mean, New Hampshire, Northern New England, and Massachusetts, Connecticut. Great to talk to everybody. So I'm glad. It's so happy to see you all get together on these PDMs. It's really great.
Yeah, there's still 32 people on. So I was gonna say, on your point you made last was that I don't have like kids at home, no distractions, no nothing. I mean, I literally start in the morning. But the hard part is when you're working with overseas, at the end of the day, when you're finished, you're not finished.
Yeah,
How do you get the discipline to
yeah,
break away, even though
yeah.
you've worked all day long with no distractions?
Yeah, no, I can that tying your workload into the time zones has
Yeah,
got to be one of the more difficult things that I can't even imagine. I mean, it's very difficult to do. But I know how you do it. You get on your elliptical lab machine and you give yourself a good workout and
yeah,
sit,
10 o'clock at
yeah,
night.
sit and get ready for the second shift, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I know you and I can understand.
Yeah,
But
no, I had like an 11:30 telecon the other night, so I did elliptical from 10 to
yeah.
10:30, took a shower, and then jumped on the telecon. It's a long day.
Yeah, but it's a long day, but you're managing your time, Ken. So, I mean, I'm not just placating you. You're
Yeah.
managing your time, right? You said, okay, I'm working from this time in the morning to now, and then I'm going to spend some time. I got to do some exercise, or I'm going to go out of my mind, and then
Yep.
I'm going to hit it again. So, yeah, that's time management.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Good. So does anyone else have any questions? If not, I'll stop the recording and then the shy people can ask questions. Hang on, let me hit stop recording.
Okay.
Okay. By the way, we are going to send you a gift card, Dan, from the Massachusetts Minuteman chapter. It's going
Oh,
to come
thanks.
from Sandeep,
All right.
and it's going to look like spam, but it's not. And
Okay.
it's just to thank you for your help tonight. Appreciate it.